Hello and welcome. I'm Asuma Katauka and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines of this hour. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that he will send the United States an updated plan for Ukraine. He has also said that he wants to discuss Ukraine's restoration as part of the peace plan preparations. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that the country could hold elections within 60 to 90 days if the US and Europe provides security guarantees for Ukraine. He further added that Kyiv would have moved to change the law once those guarantees are secured. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that Ukraine currently has no chance of joining NATO as the United States and several other countries do not yet see it as ready. He has also stressed that Russia would never accept Ukraine's NATO membership. US President Donald Trump has said that consumer prices in the United States are coming down tremendously. He has criticized Democrats, calling their concerns over the cost of living a political hoax. Chinese Defense Ministry has cited annual joint strategic patrol with Russia hours after South Korea has said that their aircraft did not violate airspace. He further stated that China and Russia had carried out their 10th joint strategic patrol in the airspace above the East China Sea and Western Pacific. Syrian Emergency Minister Raed al-Saleh and UNFPA representative Ensra Ahmed held talks on boosting cooperation in emergency response, including updating Syria's national risk assessment matrix. Both sides stressed stronger coordination, greater women's participation in response teams. Cambodian Information Minister Neth Piktra has stated that about 54,550 Cambodian residents have fled their homes for safe shelter as border conflict with Thailand has entered the third day, while Cambodian Defense Ministry spokesperson has said that 7 Cambodian civilians were killed in the conflict. According to reports, Rwanda-backed M23 rebels have entered the key eastern DRC city of Uvira, prompting security concerns. More than 30,000 people have fled to Burundi as the group calls for a buffer zone. Now for this hour, we start with Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has acknowledged that Ukraine currently has no chance of joining NATO, saying that neither the United States nor several other countries see Ukraine as ready for the alliance. Speaking to reporters, Zelensky has stressed that Ukraine remains committed to NATO membership, but admitted that Russia would never accept it. He has called the reality fair and emphasized that Ukraine must be realistic about its current position. Zelensky has also reiterated his readiness to hold national elections, saying voting could be organized within 60 to 90 days. Depending on security conditions and international support. The head of Ukraine's Central Election Commission has previously noted that it would take more than 3 months to arrange elections after a ceasefire. Russian officials, Rodion Miroshnik, has dismissed Zelensky's remarks as a bluff and a manipulation of election rules. The Ukrainian leader continues to navigate domestic and international pressures while seeking to secure a democratic vote amid ongoing conflict. Now for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Andriy Lucidi. He's a war reporter, joins us live from Lugansk. Thank you very much, Mr. Andriy Lucidi, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, looking at this, what are we to make of these reports coming in that, it's fair and realistic for Ukraine to admit that they cannot pursue joining NATO ambitions?
Well, about the membership of Ukraine in NATO was clear since months that for some countries that are member of this alliance that was impossible the admittance of Ukraine in the alliance. For example, Hungary, Budapest, the president of Hungary, Orbán, many times say that his country will vote against the membership of Ukraine in NATO. And also other countries have said that actually in this moment the joining in NATO for Ukraine was not possible and potentially could be a problem for the entire alliance. For this reason, for many months, some media in Europe, but also here in Russia, told about this problem and about the insistence of Zelensky for joining in NATO as the unique security guarantee for the West that the West can give to Ukraine. But maybe if now Zelensky and the same Ukrainian leadership admit that this is impossible, maybe that's mean that the US or the European head of states or head of government, Zelensky was yesterday in Rome, with Brussels and London, maybe they agreed about another form of security guarantee for Ukraine that maybe can be acceptable also for Russia.
Right. And what do you think? What has changed in the prospects or the proposal that was initially 28 points and then 27, and now Ukraine has suggested another kind of peace proposal. What do you think has changed from the initial one?
Well, I think that the pressure from Donald Trump to Zelensky have a big role in this changing, and I think that also the situation on the battlefield it's very high for Zelensky because the Ukrainian leadership have pointed a lot about Pokrovsk, for example, and now Pokrovsk is one of the most hottest point in the battlefield, and the Russian army is pushing in this sector against the Ukrainian army that suffering a lot of problem about manpower, about logistic, and about supplies. I think that, the most problem for Zelensky and the Ukrainian leadership at this moment is the pressure of Trump that gives only days to Zelensky for responding to the peace plan.
Right. Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Lucidi. Please stay with us as we stay in the region now. Now focusing on EU, the chairman of EU summits, Antonio Costa, has said that the European Union is very close to a solution to finance Ukraine in 2026 and 2027 that would have the support of at least a qualified majority of EU countries. EU leaders have pledged on October 23 to bankroll Kyiv for the next 2 years as Ukraine fights off the Russians and as US financial contributions are drying up. The EU leaders are to decide at the summit on December 18th in Brussels on how to deliver on their pledge until they reach an agreement. Since most EU governments struggled with large public debts, the preferred way for them to finance Ukraine's defense is to put to work some 210 billion euros of Russian sovereign assets immobilized in Europe. Let's have a look at what Antonio Costa has shared.
Working on the fine-tuning solution to find a legal and technical solution that could obtain the agreement of all of at least the qualified majority of the member states. The European Commission is doing a very good job, is working very closely with all the national governments, and I think we are very close to obtain a solution. And for me, it's sure that in the 18th of December, we will.
Now for this discussion, we welcome back Mr. Andriy Lucidi. He's a war reporter, joins us live from Lugansk. Thank you very much, Mr. Lucidi, for staying with us. Now looking at this, how dangerous is it, and how critical is this, that if EU does accept in using these frozen Russian assets to finance Ukraine's defense, and for 2 years, 2026 to 2027, do you think they are seeing that this war is to continue?
Well, the usage of Russian frozen assets for financing Ukraine now is one of the most discussing point in the European Union. There is a lot of divisions among the countries that are in the European Union about this, because this potentially can be a very big problem for the reputation and for the European law, because now what is the problem? Now in the EU they are discussing about the possibility to confiscate the Russian assets that are already frozen and used for Ukraine, because Russia is an aggressor, Ukraine is a victim of a war of aggression from Russia. But a lot of politicians are thinking that now the aggressor is Russia, but in the future we can see another war from allied of the European Union. We can see a war from the US, a war from the United Kingdom against another country. And at this point, if now European Union will confiscate these assets, what will be what will do the European Union in the future against new aggressors that will be allied of the US, of course, allied of the West, but why they need to use a double standard for this? For this reason, I think that the discussion about the usage of Russian assets will be sterile without any concrete consequence for the future.
And how do you see current alignment in Europe? Do you think there's some lack of alignment in support of Ukraine right now?
Well, this is a political problem, because there are a lot of countries that are, it's clear for them, like Hungary, Italy, Germany, and other countries, that it's clear for them that how long the EU can continue to support Ukraine without any concrete results on the battlefield. From 3 years, we saw that the continuous support to Ukraine prolonged the war without any concrete victory. In 2023, Zelensky tried to make the big offensive in the Zaporozhye region, but this offensive was stopped after 12 kilometers. And after this year, no other big offensive was tried by the Ukrainian army. Why? Because they don't have the force and the manpower to make this. So a lot of European politicians and also the public opinion in Europe, in some countries of Europe, ask themselves why we must continue this war, because without our support, without the European support, maybe the Ukrainian leadership can be forced to agree to a ceasefire. But if we continue to support them, they will continue the war. And this can be a humanitarian catastrophe for human life, for energy supplies in Ukraine, for the energy structures in Ukraine. And this is a Ukraine that Europe will be reconstructed in the future.
Right. Thank you for laying it out there. With that, I would like to thank Mr. Andriy Lucidi for joining us and sharing that insight throughout our news. Thank you very much. Now, moving on, U.S. Ambassador to Turkey Tom Barak has said that Washington and Ankara held fruitful talks on Turkey's possible return to the F-35 fighter jet program, amid restrictions due to its acquisition of Russia's S-400 air defense system earlier. Barak has highlighted that under the U.S. law, Turkey must no longer operate or possess the S-400 system to qualify for the F-35 program. He has emphasized that strong ties between U.S. President Donald Trump and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan have created a new atmosphere of cooperation, facilitating the most productive discussions on the issue in nearly a decade. The ambassador has expressed optimism that the ongoing talks could deliver a breakthrough in the coming months. Addressing both U.S. and Turkish security requirements, Barak has noted that successful negotiations could restore Turkey's access to the advanced stealth fighter jets while maintaining alignment with U.S. defense priorities. Now, for this discussion, we welcome Glenn Grant. He's a former advisor to Defense Minister of Ukraine, joins us live from Kyiv. Thank you very much, Glenn, for joining us again. Good to see you. Glenn, can you tell us a little bit about what is the difference and how significant is or important is it for Turkey, this F-35 and S-400?
Yeah, I think you can't. It's not just. This is not just a Turkey problem. This is a U.S. problem. Lots of countries around Europe that were originally wanting the F-35 are now considering other options, and the reason for this is because they don't trust America to maintain the F-35 in the way that it should be maintained, and they're worried about the on-off switch that America has for the software on the F-35, that it can be turned off and on and actually make them redundant if America so wants. But America needs the money because of this, because they've actually not done so well with defense spending more recently, because people are looking at European countries. Turkey wants the F-35, but it's got the S-400, and the trouble is that the S-400 is an air defense system which, when it's turned on, can basically track the F-35 and take data from the F-35 and will pass that data automatically to Russia. Of course, America doesn't want this. But the S-400 as a weapon system has not performed very well. So Turkey might now be thinking, have we actually bought, as we say, a pig in a poke by taking the S-400? They took it, I think, to keep Russia happy, to keep a balance. They must now be reconsidering this balance in the light of the failure of S-400 on the Ukrainian-Russian battlefield.
So what happens now? Since you mentioned, building on your answer, you said Turkey probably did this to keep Russia happy and to balance situations, and now it's again weighing towards U.S. So what do you think? How will Russia be eyeing this situation?
Well, Russia needs to sell arms to get money because it's really short of money at the moment, and it will do everything it can to get money by selling arms. But frankly, any country that actually buys arms from Russia needs to look at this with a serious health warning, because most of the weapons that Russia has used, with the exception of their electronic warfare, most of those weapons have actually not performed very well. So Turkey will be looking at this more seriously and saying, hey, if we've got S-400, that means also we can't buy Patriot from US, which has performed well. This keeping a balance, this is now Erdogan's problem. If he keeps the S-400, there will be no F-35. That's absolutely guaranteed because it's US law. So he's got a real challenge, and that's his challenge. The Americans will want him to buy F-35 because it's hard cash, and they'll want to sell more to Turkey. It's a big buyer.
Yes.
But hey, balance is everything in this.
Yes, and lastly, Glenn, how might this potential return of Turkey to the F-35 program, if it happens, how do you think this will be affecting NATO's air defense posture?
Well, it'll make that part of the world for NATO much stronger, because the F-35 is a remarkable aircraft. It's all, I mean, I have to say, it's also extremely expensive to run. But it is a remarkable aircraft, and if Turkey buys them,
Lift
whatever
7 or
numbers,
8,
it will give that part of the country a much stronger, part of NATO, a much stronger air defense overall.
Right. With that, I would like to thank Mr. Glenn Grant for joining us today and sharing that insight throughout our news. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Now moving the focus on to Asia, India and the US are reviewing their comprehensive global strategic partnership and are also discussing key bilateral issues, including trade, investment, defense cooperation, and the trust, transforming the relationship utilizing strategic technology initiative. U.S. Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs Alison Hooker is holding talks with Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri, with both sides focusing on turning the vision outlined by U.S. President Donald Trump and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi during their February meeting into tangible outcomes. Hooker is on a 5-day visit to India to strengthen strategic and economic cooperation now. Meanwhile, according to the U.S. Embassy, Hooker has conveyed the U.S. administration's intent to advance on collaboration on sectors such as defense, energy, technology, space, and supply chain resilience. Now for this discussion, we welcome retired Major General and Dr. Rajan Kochhar. He's an international relations and defense expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Dr. and Major General Kochhar, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, looking at this, how can India and US optimize their defense cooperation under this initiative, and what is the effect of this on regional security capabilities for India?
Thank you for inviting me for this discussion.
Thank you.
It's extremely relevant here because India is going through a strategic balancing between Russia and America, and especially after the tariffs have been imposed on India by the United States. This visit is very important, and these discussions relate to basically trade and investment. And we are looking at a certain review or the rebalancing of this strategic agreement. The first area of rebalance is the defense and security cooperation. It's central to the review because we are looking at a very strong strategic partnership between the United States and India. And the United States also does not want any kind of ripples in this relationship because this is more to do with the shared Indo-Pacific strategies and counter-terrorism cooperation. And if you would have gone through the defense national security strategy of the United States, which has just been published, it clearly mentions that Quad and the Indo-Pacific holds a great relevance to the strategy, and New Delhi becomes a very important factor. The second aspect which has been mentioned in this security strategy is that United States is looking at New Delhi for commercial cooperation, that means trade. So I think from the defense point of view, the first point. The second is the energy, which includes the nuclear cooperation between the two countries for peaceful purposes. We are looking at energy requirements. We are looking at civil nuclear collaboration in terms of oil, gas, clean energy, and energy security is a very strong part of this agenda. The third most important aspect, which has been reviewed, is the technology, space, and emerging sectors. As you would be aware that these emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, high-tech research, quantum computing, robotics, and machine learning. So these are important technologies which are under review, where both the countries will share with each other. Space cooperation is also a very, very part, and Hooker is visiting Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO also, and meeting the stakeholders on India's energy and tech sectors to explore collaboration in space and related technology. The next important is the supply chain resilience. This supply chain resilience is extremely important because if you would have seen the recent visit of President Putin also, there was a strong, strong emphasis on this. And the next important aspect is the critical minerals. Given the global competition for resources as of now, I think this critical minerals cooperation, especially which goes into the semiconductor technology, magnets and things like that, is also under review. And lastly is that regional and global cooperation, because in South Asia, I think United States considers India as a dear friend, and it would like to involve India in its own national interest in South Asia. And therefore, I feel this earlier agreements like a compact, which was recently done. A trust was another one when Prime Minister Modi had gone to US in February of this year. So, considering all these aspects, I can summarize the entire discussion into trade investment, defense and security, energy and supply chain security, technology and innovation, global and regional strategy alignment, and institutional mechanisms like compact, trust, and things like that. So, it would be very important to watch the outcome of the trade delegation, which is coming to India now, and we hope to see some movement in this regard.
Yes, unfortunately, Major General Doctor, we are running out of time for this discussion. But with that, I would like to thank Dr. Rajan, Major General Dr. Rajan Kochar, for joining us today and sharing that insight throughout our news. Thank you very much. Now, moving on to South America, defense lawyers for Brazilian former President Jair Bolsonaro has requested his removal from jail to a hospital for surgical procedures. The lawyers have also reaffirmed their request for the right-wing leader to serve his 27-year prison sentence under humanitarian house arrest. Meanwhile, Brazilian pro-government legislator Glauber Braga has been forcibly removed from parliamentary session by several legislative police officers after denouncing a coup offensive and occupying the chair of the president of the Chamber of Deputies. Braga is boycotting the session to vote on a bill that could drastically reduce the sentence of former President Jair Bolsonaro, who is sentenced to 27 years in prison for attempting a coup. Let's in fact listen into what Braga has shared.
Eles querem votar uma anistia que não é dosimetria, levando a possibilidade de que Jair Bolsonaro só tenha 2 anos de pena.
The Nobel Institute has confirmed that Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado will not be attending the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony in Oslo. Machado, who is 58 years old, has been living in hiding, and it remains unclear whether she was able to leave Venezuela in time for the event. The Nobel Institute said her daughter, Ana Corina Machado, will be accepting the prestigious award on her mother's behalf. The organizers have added that Ana will deliver the speech written by Maria Corina. Machado has revealed the Nobel Peace Prize for her efforts in defending democracy and human rights in Venezuela, highlighting the ongoing political crisis in the country. And that's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.